Well, good morning. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. My name is Andrea Juvie, and myself, Grant, will be leading you in worship here today. Katie is on vacation and family, so we'll wish her well, but we're excited to be here. In this moment, please feel free to worship, meditate, however you feel most comfortable. Sitting, standing, dancing, jumping up and down, running, makes no difference in this space. You can find lyrics on the listed there, grove.today. They're also listed back there, hanging on the wall.
Okay, can we give them a hand? Yeah, Archer. The fact that we have a worship arts director like Katie is a huge blessing, but the fact that she can be gone and we can have this type of experience of people leading for us is just an absolute amazing thing. Good morning. It's great to be with you. My name is Jeremy. I'm the pastor here of the Grove Cottage Grove, and it is a honor to be with you on this beautiful Sunday morning. We are a brand new church that exists to grow goodness. And so I hope that simply by your being here, maybe you're watching online, even those of you who are maybe watching later because you're playing hooky and you're at the state fair, even for you, we hope that somehow your interaction with us this morning or sometime during the week is nurturing healing, wholeness, and beauty in your life. Just a couple things at the top to direct your attention to. As you walked over here this morning, you may have grabbed one of these worship handouts. If you don't have one of those, they are on the little circle table over there next to the name tags. It has all of the most important information that you're going to need about the church and what's currently going on. You can also find a lot of that information by just going to, again, this webpage, thegrove.today. On the inside, as you open up the worship handout or as you look at the webpage, it has the our values, what we take seriously, what we take less seriously ourselves, ways for you to give to continue making all of this possible, information about kids ministry, all of that important stuff. Also on the inside, there is a worship handout. This is your opportunity for you to let us know that you're here today. If you are new with us, it's an opportunity for you not only to say that you're here with us, but maybe to request more information, allow us to be able to follow up with you. There are options on the back where if you're interested in very specific things, you can ask for more information about those specific things. You can submit prayer requests. Again, you can also do this simply by clicking a button on that webpage. On the back, there is the three most important things to know. These are the announcements that we are really trying to key in on as we wrap up this month and we head towards fall. If you're interested in that information now, you can either scan those QR codes or you can just click on the image on that webpage and it'll bring you to the information you need to know. Otherwise, we will hit all of those details at the end of the service. The other thing to know is that we are just 2 weeks out from our fall kickoff. Our fall kickoff includes the relaunch of our children's ministry. Woohoo, Grove Kids. However, in advance of that, over the next 2 weeks, we don't have structured kids programming. So the kids are welcome to run free, make use of the playground, make use of this area over here. We also have a nursery indoors, which is not staffed, but we have the live stream going in there in case you need to make use of that. I say all of that simply to say that if you have kids with you today, just kind of keep an eye on them to make sure that they are not up to all sorts of shenanigans, okay? But we are not here just to talk about details and logistics. We are here to help to connect with one another and to God. And so at this point, we're going to move into the part of our service that we call Connection Point, which is your opportunity to connect with the people around you and talk to one another instead of us talking at you. Introverts' least favorite part of the service. Can I get an amen? Yes. But it is an incredibly important thing because as a new church, building meaningful relationships is important. And research shows that even little interactions with it like this are incredibly important. So what we do is we give you the opportunity to stand up, find someone next to you you don't know or don't know very well, introduce yourself, and then we give you a question as a prompt to kind of encourage the conversation on a little bit. So today's question is about, what was it? Jobs, right? Okay, so school's about to start. Thinking back to your early days in school, and often people will ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? So today's question is, when you were that age, when you were younger, what did you say you wanted to be when you grew up? Maybe you wanted to be a firefighter or a archaeologist or a superhero or a dentist or something like that, whatever it might be. A pirate! Maybe you want to be a pirate when you grow up, sure. Okay, This is your opportunity. We'll have you stand up, find somebody next to you you don't know or don't know very well, introduce yourself, and then discuss why you want to be a pirate when you grow up. We'll reconvene in just a couple minutes. All right, you can find your seats. Any other pirates out there? No, nobody wanted to be a pirate? All right, well, as grown-ups are finding their seats, I will invite our kids to come up here. We are in our third week of Campfire Stories, which is this series that we're in where we are retelling old stories from the Bible, and we've rewritten them and are having people read them to our kids, and then the kids get a treat afterwards. Ooh. So, why don't I invite the kids to come up here for the story? You can come right up here, and reading today is the other Jeremy. We've got Jeremy Rushing reading today's story. So, kids, you can come on up. sit around here.
Morning, everyone. Is this on? Check. Check, check. Okay, hear me now. Good morning, everyone. How we doing? Hi, kids. How are you guys this morning? How about I sit down so I'm more on? Amazing. I love that. I love that. Amazing triple tracing. I love that. That's a good one. All right. So, who remembers last Sunday, or who was here last Sunday when we talked about the word parable? Yeah. Does anybody remember what a parable is? A story. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah, it is a story. So a parable is a simple story used to teach a spiritual lesson. So it's a story that you should take something away from. You should go learning a lesson from. Yeah. So today we get to hear Jesus telling another parable called the rich man and Lazarus. And it goes something like this. Once upon a time, there were two men who lived very different lives. On one side was a rich man. He had the most comfortable life you can imagine. He had all of the best things. He had the best house, the best clothes, the best food. But on the other side was a poor man. And this poor man named Lazarus had the hardest life you can imagine. He had nothing going for him. He had no home. He had to live outside the rich man's front door. His home was outside the rich man's front door. So can you imagine that? And he was so sick that even the animals on the street would come up and lick him. It's pretty gross, huh? Yeah. Yeah, anything. Dogs, rats, doesn't matter. Well, one day, both the rich man and Lazarus died. And when they did, their situations completely changed. Suddenly, the rich man who was miserable. This rich man who had the best life you can imagine, all the best things, suddenly after he died, he was miserable. And Lazarus, the poor man, after he died, he was comforted by his family and his friends who went before him, including Abraham, who was the most famous and important person they had ever heard of. But the rich man still didn't get it. One day he said, "Hey, Lazarus, can you give me something to drink so I can be more comfortable?" Abraham responded, No, he wouldn't do that for you even if he could. Life is about serving others, not being served. "Oh, okay," said the rich man. "Now I get it. Hey, Lazarus, can you go tell my family so they can change their ways?" "Wow," said Abraham. "Clearly you still don't get it. They have everything they need to choose to have lives full of goodness. And so did you. Not even someone coming back from the dead would change their ways if their mind is already made up." So I got a question. What is the difference between serving and being served? Yes. You actually just answered the next question I was going to ask. Uh, being served is when you expect people to do nice things for you. So being served is kind of like when you just expect your parents to do something for you, or expect your friends to do something for you, or expect someone else in your family to do something for you. That's being served. Serving is when we choose to do nice things for others. So that's the end of the parable. And just like the story we heard each of the last 2 weeks, Jesus didn't wrap up this story with a happy ending, with a tight little bow. We get to decide who we will be in the story. Will we be like the rich man who is trying to make our own lives super comfortable and all about ourselves? Or will we choose to make others' lives better and our world better by serving others? You get to decide. All right, who wants a snack? Raise your hand. There you go. All right, so we got red and orange. I don't know.
All right, we're going to head on to a little bit more worship here. Again, same as before, however you feel most comfortable in this space, please utilize this time to worship, meditate, whatever that looks like for you. Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, oh sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who stray. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. Lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Come as you are. Fall in their arms. Come as you are. There's joy for the morning. Oh, sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise them above, ye heavenly hosts. Creator, Son,
I like when people sit close, but this is a little bit too much. Even my kids, maybe especially my kids, sitting up. No, thank you. All right, we are on to week 3 of our Campfire Stories series. And just as a reminder for those of you who have been here and following along, or if this is your first week out of the last 3 weeks that you have been here, our Campfire Stories series is about retelling stories from the Bible as if they are stories that we'd be telling around a campfire. So we're not being overly concerned with getting all of the details right or trying to like make arguments about, well, is this historically accurate? We're not concerning ourselves with all of that. Like a good campfire story, we're trying to tell it in such a way that we're using a little bit of creative license in order to tell a compelling story that people are going to remember and walk away with and hopefully get something out of. And like trying to get your attention to make sure that you are seeing things maybe that you didn't see before and that it's hitting a need in the moment that you need it. So we have done this each of the past 2 summers as well, and each of those past 2 summers we did stories from the Old Testament, which is the first half of the Bible. This summer, however, we have been looking at stories from Jesus, not about Jesus, but stories that Jesus himself told to his followers. These stories are often called parables. Like the other Jeremy was saying earlier, parables are these stories that are told in such a way that try to get at deeper spiritual meaning. So Jesus was, again, using his own creative license to come up with these stories that had like familiar themes or things that people would be familiar with, but would like inject something into them to be captivating, to get their attention, to give them something to walk away with and hopefully remember and do something with. Another thing to keep in mind as we do this is one of our values here of the Grove, Cottage Grove, is we try to take the way, following the way of Jesus seriously while not taking ourselves too seriously. And so we've tried to, as we've done these stories, also like inject a little bit of extra fun into the retelling of them as well. So today, who's ready to talk about hell? We got a couple hands up. Woohoo! Yeah, our favorite topic. My hope is that as we retell this story, as you walk away with it, it's maybe, perhaps, hopefully, a message about hell is completely different maybe than what you have heard about hell before. And I'm actually excited about it because I'm excited about what Jesus was actually trying to say about this topic. So before we jump into that story that Jesus told, again, a couple reminders. I already kind of hit them already, but keep these things in mind as we're reading this story that Jesus told. Number one, these stories did not happen. Many of the stories in the Bible did not happen, but especially when it comes to parables, these are not stories that Jesus is retelling because they happened. No one hearing these stories would have tried to like piece together saying, oh, well, this is a story about an actual person going through an actual event. Keep that in mind. A second piece of that immediately follows is the details that are in here. We're not supposed to take them literally. Often Jesus or whoever's telling these types of stories is using a whole lot of creativity to try to get your attention, to get you to remember something and then do something with it. So we shouldn't be reading these stories trying to say, oh, this is actually how things are. And then lastly, again, like we're meant to do something with these stories. We're actually supposed to like find ourselves in these stories so that we can do something with them now. So with all of those things in mind, we now get to turn to Luke chapter 16, one of the 4 biographies about the life of Jesus, and it's time to go to hell, folks. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who longed to satisfy his hunger with what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs would come and lick his sores. Disgusting detail that you're not going to forget, right? The poor man died and was carried away by the angels to be with Abraham. The rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, where he was being tormented, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. He called out, "Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in these flames." But Abraham said, "Child, remember that during your lifetime you received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. Besides all this, between you and us a great chasm has been fixed, so that those who might want to pass from here to you cannot do so, and no one can cross from there to us." He said, "Then, Father, I beg you to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may warn them, so that they will not also come into this place of torment." Abraham replied, "They have Moses and the prophets, they should listen to them." He said, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent." He said to him, "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead." That's a fun little story, isn't it? So each of the first 2 weeks that we've done Campfire Stories, Katie rewrote the story in order for whoever's reading it to be able to share it with the kids. We got to this week, and guess who didn't want to write the story? She didn't want to touch this at all, and I can't blame her whatsoever. So writing the kids' story was actually one of the most difficult parts of preparing for this week. So let's talk about hell. Maybe, kind of. I'm going to rehash some of this. This might sound a little bit familiar to you who were paying attention during our last series when we talked about the book of Jonah. In the ancient world, the concept of the world as it is and what's beyond this world, the universe was not like we're on a globe and there's these vast bodies somewhere out in the space above us. In ancient cosmology, all of existence was like a dome. Okay, so we were here on Earth. We are this part of this flat Earth, this flat existence. This is where us as humans live. And there were pillars from Earth that went all the way down into the ground. That's what kind of held us together. But then in the dome above, this is where the heavens were. The heavens were always up above us. This is the realm where God lived. This is the waters above. Sometimes they referred to it. And then below that, below Earth, right underneath where the pillars went through, was this other realm known as Sheol. This is the Jewish, the Hebrew word that gets known for that realm. If you remember back to our series when we talked about Jonah, Sheol is the place where Jonah jumps off the boat to try to escape God. He goes all the way to the depths of the ocean. He goes below the depths of the ocean, and he's caught up in the underworld of Sheol. It's like he dies, and he goes there, and only when he reaches out to God from there that God sends this fish to swallow him and bring him back to life. So Sheol, which often gets then translated in English as hell, is the underworld, the place where the dead went. And in this ancient Near Eastern cosmology, people did not get separated based on who they were or what they did in their lives. There was heaven, that's where God lived. And then in the Jewish understanding of the world, when anyone died, they went down to Sheol. Sheol was not like the hell that we think of it today. Sheol was the place of silence. You got buried and you went into the ground, and that is where you spent the rest of existence. Everybody together in Sheol. Well, a funny thing happened. You see, the ancient Jewish people had things happen to them. They had these experiences, and they came to new understandings of reason and said, I don't know that this understanding works any longer. Maybe we need to rethink the very nature of existence. So a couple things happened. First of all, there was this chaotic, transforming event called the exile, where the people of Israel were forcibly removed from their land. They had their culture wiped out. Everything was up in the air. There was no like certainty about who they were or what they were meant to do. Many of them were killed very viciously, and this was done by pagan empires. So that was kind of a big deal. And then after that, they eventually, that pagan empire was defeated by another pagan empire, and they were allowed to return home. But even when they returned home, it was like they didn't get everything back. They didn't have this sense of identity back. And still, there was this uncertainty. Still, people were dying. Still, the unrighteous pagans were ruling over them. And so, given all of that they were living through, it was like they came to this conclusion of, this can't be all that there is. This cannot be all that there is. For those of us who have remained faithful, we just die and then we go into silence. This can't be all that there is for us. This can't be all that there is either for those pagans who are doing wrong things. We all end up in the same place, in that Sheol, in that place of silence. And so the more that they thought about it, the more that they interacted with the thinking of other people in the place where they were at that time, the more it went from this can't be all that there is to this is not all that there is. And as the languages changed, you see it moves from Sheol, which is a Hebrew word, to Hades. Maybe you're familiar with Hades and like Greek mythology. Hades was this underworld, but maybe Hades, where everybody went after they died, maybe it was like separated into different places where the normal people, they went to Hades too, but there was a separate part where God's faithful people also went. And rather than simply being a place of silence where God's faithful people went after death, maybe those faithful people went to Hades, but they went to this different part where they got to be with everybody who went before them, the other faithful people. They got enveloped, they got comforted by all of the faithful people that went before them, like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, these people who were a part of their religious history. And this was a place not of silence, but of comfort after death, like a child who is returning to their parents and being wrapped up. So after death, this is not like the fiery hell. This is Hades, where everybody goes, but there is a lasting comfort for those who have remained faithful. So with all of that in mind, let's go back to the story that Jesus told. So as Jesus often does, he has two different characters in this story, and he has two different characters in order to make sure that he's drawing a distinction and a contrast between them. On the one hand, there is a rich man. The rich man has absolutely everything going for him. He's got the best house. He has the best food. He has the best clothes. He's got everything going for him. He is living the definition of comfort. But then on the other end of the spectrum, there is the poor man who's named Lazarus. Lazarus has nothing going for him. He has no home. He's living outside the gates of the rich man. He has no food. If he could just get the droppings from the table of the rich man, he'd be super happy. He's so sick, he's so unhealthy that dogs are coming up and licking him. Again, disgusting detail, but it's one that you're going to remember, right? And yet what happens is both of them die, both the rich man and the poor man who's named Lazarus die. And people often say that death is the great equalizer. You've probably heard that before. That's not the case in this story. Death is the great reversal in this story. Because as the rich man dies, the rich man goes to Hades, goes to the underworld, and the rich man who has lived in comfort his entire life is a little bit uncomfortable. He is in torment, we're told. But then there is Lazarus, the poor man, who has lived his entire life in torment, nothing going for him. At his death, the roles are reversed, and now he is being comforted. Now here's the question They're both in this Hades. They're having extremely different experiences. What is the thing that is tormenting the rich man? Is it like this pointy-eared red devil with a pitchfork? There's no red devil with a pitchfork in this story. Is it the fire and flames of hell that we often think of? There's like flames mentioned, but it says that the rich man is in torment in the flames, that it's not necessarily the flames that are causing him torment. What I think the torment, what is driving the rich man to this place of agony, is that he has lived an entire life of being served, and suddenly he's in this spot where he is uncomfortable. You can see this in his response, even as he sees what's going on with Abraham and Lazarus. What does he say? Abraham, I'm uncomfortable. Can you send Lazarus to give me some water to make me a little bit more comfortable? To which Abraham says, dude, are you serious? Do you not understand what's going on here? This is not about your comfort. He is being comforted because he lived his entire life uncomfortable. It is not that he is meant to continue to serve you even in this afterlife. And it's almost like the rich man then gets it. He then realizes, oh, I have other people. I have family who are still in the realm of the living. Maybe we should go and warn them that they need to change their ways. He's this close to getting it, and yet he proves again he doesn't get it. Hey, Abraham, okay, I understand. Can you send Lazarus to do this job for me? Again, to serve me and my family, to make sure they get it right now. To which, again, Abraham says, dude, are you serious? You still don't get it. This is not about comfort. This is not about your comfort and being served. You had everything that you needed to get this right in life. Your family has everything to get this right in life, and you chose a different way. And that different way has implications. As we look at this story, I think it's pretty clear that Jesus is not trying to tell us literally about what the afterlife is looking like for those who were righteous and unrighteous, those who were comfortable in life and those who were just meant to serve in life. It's not that he's trying to draw like literal details out and say, when you die, this is what it's like. And in fact, when we look at the life and teachings of Jesus throughout the biographies about his life, he pays very little attention to trying to say, oh, this is what you ought to expect in the life to come. Even when he talks about heaven and hell, he's very concerned with what that means for people now. So when he uses these words like Hades that get translated into hell, hell is this existence where our hatred and exploitation and greed, all of a sudden it adds up and has consequences. That's what hell is like. And when he talks about heaven or the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God, he is talking about things being made right, where God gets what God wants, where everyone is loved and accepted and has enough for them. Even the rich man in this story, you can see him like making those connections. He's this close. He's not like, oh, I gotta get this figured out for myself and make sure that my family doesn't go to hell. He tries to send Lazarus so that they can begin living right in that moment in life, because he realizes that the way that you live now, the way that you can serve now rather than simply worrying about being served, has implications. So I'm going to do something that I often try to avoid at all costs. I often try to avoid using big, fancy theological words that are just as difficult to say as they are to understand. And I often try to avoid labeling myself with something. I don't want to like pin myself down. I like the wine more than the label. Anybody get that reference? But here I'm going to do that. And this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, especially having grown up in a tradition that talked a lot about hell and brimstone, okay? 2 words that I have learned to embrace over the last, I'm getting old, probably 20 years now. Ready? Eschatological agnostic. Eschatological agnostic. Eschatological is this fancy word that means like the end times or death or what happens after death. Agnostic, that might be a more familiar word to you. Agnostic is someone who doesn't know and says maybe we can't know, or maybe we shouldn't know, maybe we shouldn't concern ourselves with that knowing. Again, over the last 20 years, I would say that I would start to label myself as an eschatological agnostic. I do not know what happens after death. I do not know exactly what it's going to look like. I certainly don't know who's going to be here and who's going to be there. I don't think that is my job to have that all figured out. Honestly, given some of the things that Jesus says, I don't think that it's any of our business to try to figure out all of those details. Because we are those who claim to be followers of Jesus. And as those who try to follow the way of Jesus, Jesus again seemed much more concerned with trying to prepare people to live lives rightly now that are going to have impact, that are not just about comfort, but about serving, than about preparing people for some future existence in some other realm, right? And so my hope, my prayer for us is that we can be the type of people who don't just try to live comfortable lives, but we try to lean in and say, how can we live lives of love and service for one another? How can we cultivate the common good in such a way that we grow goodness in and through our everyday lives that has lasting, maybe even eternal impact? May that be so.
There's a world at war, caught suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace in these sleepless nights. I can hardly breathe despite brutality. I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. Let the light and keep it shining. all the love there's us to see. We'll all be free. We'll all be free. We'll all be free.
No? Okay. 3 things before we go. Actually, 4 things. 3.5. If you have your worship handouts, you can turn to the back. The 3 most important things for this week, this month. Otherwise, again, on thegrove.today, we have those 3 things listed on the bottom of the page with all the details that you need. The first one, I'm actually going to go to the second one because it is next week. Next week is our final week of being outside for Sunday worship, summer worship, because it's the end of summer. Boo. However, it is next week we'll be going into the beginning of the South Washington County school year. And so during the service next week, we are inviting all of our students. If they're little kids, great. If you are going off to college or a master's degree or something, we want to be able to mark that and celebrate that with you through a backpack blessing. We'll have all of the kids or grown-ups who are going back to school join us up here on stage, bring their backpacks, be able to show that off, and then we will pray over the backpacks and our students as they begin their school year. Again, that is happening a week from today, right during the worship service. The week after that is our kickoff Sunday, where we are kicking off the entire school year. We are restarting our Grove Kids programming. We're moving back inside. We also are going to have bring your own food to share type of day. I'm avoiding the word potluck. Right? Smorgasbord. Tailgate, that's what it was. It's a tailgate party because it's a kickoff Sunday. That's the kickoff of the NFL season. The Vikings play at noon. You know what? We will still have time to be able to eat and to be able to enjoy each other before the Vikings game starts at noon. However, with that coming, if you consider the Grove Cottage Grove to be your church home and you are not yet in a volunteer role, we'd love to get you plugged in somewhere. One, because we could use the extra hands, but more importantly, because it is one of the best ways to connect with this church, to be able to contribute to the church as a whole, to get to know other people as well. So if you are in that situation, I would encourage you to either click on that image for Get Involved or scan that QR code so we can find a place that where you can use your gifts and passions. Also that Sunday, it sounds like there's going to be a pop-up choir. So if you have been a part of that before or are interested in being a part of that now, you can indicate that by, let's see, what's on the back that we would have you check the box of? Worship Arts? Worship Arts. If you check Worship Arts on your worship handout, we will follow up with you to make sure that you get included in that opportunity. All right, and then the third and a half thing is the pop-up pumpkin patch, again coming up on October 14th. I have not checked the recent numbers, but I know that we're over 3,000 people who have somehow RSVP'd for this event. It has routinely been our biggest event so far, and I'm sure that this year is going to be even bigger than last year when we had over 900 people out here. If you are interested in helping in any capacity with that event, we will take the help, okay? So if you are interested in signing up, you can sign up directly by going to that QR code or clicking on that image on the webpage. I believe that is all of the announcements that we need for today. So it was so good to be with you on this beautiful Sunday morning. I will, as you're able, you can rise and extend your hands to receive this blessing. Rather than focusing on our own comfort in the here and now and even our own comfort in the life to come, may we devote ourselves to lives of service. And may we cultivate the common good, doing what we can in all the ways we can for as long as we can to bring heaven to earth now. May that be so. Amen.
I'm gonna shout about it. I am a child of love. I found a world of freedom. I found Jesus.